911. Let's talk about that.
Man Up with Mark. Mark talks about everything under the sun. You may agree with him, and again, you may not.
So, everybody out there, probably mostly everybody out there that watches my podcast, you're probably of the age that dialing 911 has been around forever. It's always been around. It was there when you were little. It's been here ever since. There might be a few of you out there that say, oh no, I remember when. Yeah, I do too.
Fuck, you're old.
It was 1968-ish. 911 didn't become something in the United States until about 1968. And in certain areas, it didn't get around to certain states and certain cities until into, like 1970. It took a couple of years to get shit taken care of. You would think that America would have been on the forefront of that technology.
You would think.
Well, we weren't. Actually, England was. Back in 1937, they created their emergency call number, which was 999. I think it still is 999 to this day. But that's when England started theirs. It took the United States another, 30 plus years to get their crap together and establish a 911, which I don't know. Maybe somebody out there knows the significance of 911. Why those numbers? England had 999. Again, I don't know the significance. I guess just easy to punch. Boom, boom, boom.
Sounds good to me.
I don't know. But yeah, England started theirs in 37. And America started theirs in 1968. Good old AT&T pretty much had a monopoly on all the telephone services back then. In fact, the big AT&T breakup didn't happen until the early 80s. So all of the 911 services were basically developed through AT&T.
Pay Ma Bell.
American Telephone and Telegraph, for those that don't know what those initials stand for. But there are a lot of arguments out there that actually, Alexander Graham Bell, he invented the telephone, and he actually invented the first, 911 call. The story goes, and this is a stupid story. I don't even know why people say this, that's the first 911 call.
It's just a thing people say.
But apparently when Bell was, working on the telephone, his assistant, what was his assistant's name? Watson? I think it was Watson. Kind of like Sherlock Holmes.
Watson.
I digress. Watson was in one room, and Bell was in another room, and, they had been working on this telephone idea, trying to get this thing to work. And apparently Bell spilled some acid on the floor, and some of it got on his clothing. And he yelled for Watson to come and help him. Now again, Watson was in the other room, and they proclaimed that, the sound came through the device that was sitting there, the first invented telephone. Now, Come on. If I'm in one room and you're in the next room, and all you've got is maybe a wall and a couple of doors in between you, and you spill acid and shout, "Watson, come and help me!" Ah! I think he's going to hear him without help at the telephone.
Sounds good to me.
That's just me. I don't know. But before 911, when an emergency happened, say it was a fire, or someone was having a health emergency, or someone was breaking into your house, you had to call that specific emergency entity, whether it be the police department or the fire department, or, hell, in those days, in the town that I grew up, the only place you could call for an ambulance was the hospital. I lived in a small town, and back then, we didn't have ambulance services, we just had the hospital. I think we had 2 hospitals back then. Yeah, we were going. We had 2 hospitals back then. But yeah, you had to call the specific entity. So you had to dial, your 7 numbers. And they developed this system that, throughout the United States, they had these locations in each area that if you dialed this 911, it would go directly to this central location, and they would then send out the different emergency service. At first, it was rather clumsy. Yeah, I gotta admit, the service didn't have its shit together when it first started.
It was shitty.
It did get some bad publicity at the start. But over time, it did turn into something that is a mainstay in today's life. 911. Now, I know there are probably a lot of you out there that probably have a lot of additional information that you could share when it comes to 911. Let me know. Send me a comment. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, and ring the bell, that would be great. And like always, please donate to my Patreon. Patreon.com/manupwithmark. And if you have nothing better to do, check out my website at www.manupwithmark.com. Click the link to my merch page. Maybe you might want to buy a item or 2 or 3. Okay. That's it for now. See ya.
If you have a question or comment, email Mark at manupwithmark.com.